Fans are calling for both Lin Dunn and Christy Sides to resign from the Fevers.
Win 5, win 13, and now we won 20. And so I'm real pleased with the progress that we've made, the talent that we have, the job that the coaches and the players did this year.
Lin Dunn was supposedly joking after the game, which riled up Clark fans, speaking about a third game in Indiana with the Sun.
I talked to the GM in Connecticut, and I said, Darius, let's go back to Indy. Let's have one game in Indy. He said, there is no way I'm going to do anything to allow my team to get out of this arena. And I said, well, I don't blame you. I said, because we will have 19,000 people ready for you. And he said, I don't want to go back to Indy. But our players deserved a chance to play at home.
Christy Sides is legitimately the worst coach I've ever seen. 30-point lead evaporating. Caitlin has scored or assisted for half of your offense, and you take her off ball and don't run anything for her as they make it a 2-possession game. She's got to be fired.
Because of the new reset timeout, Indiana has not yet used. Chicago.
Never wanted her to not be aggressive and take shots. I really thought when she went out in transition after that free throw, I thought she was gonna take it to the rim or pull up right there. That would have been her. That would have been a great shot for her, for our team.
Caitlin Clark has been a pivotal part of the Fever's success, whilst most believe Christy Sides is not the right fit for the job anymore. Christy Sides and Caitlin have had a few tentative moments thus far, but everything seemed to go to plan towards the end of the season, which led to Christy not being talked about as much. But after Indiana only reached the first rounds of the playoffs, surely questions now need to be asked.
There were times that people felt like Christy didn't have a great relationship with Caitlin. They were calling for Lisa Bluter to come back in, or who should coach her, calling for her job to be fired, etc.
Whilst this is happening, the Aces have an important game coming up, and Aja Wilson is set to star again. Analysts have voiced their opinion on her not getting as much attention as Caitlin, and it being an injustice.
Aja Wilson, 28 years old, 1,000 points in a regular season. Why is that not the biggest story out at the moment? And why are we talking about Caitlin Clark?
Exactly. Why when Aja was releasing a shoe were we talking about Caitlin Clark?
There are growing calls for Lin Dunn to step down as general manager and for Christy Sides to be replaced as head coach. These sentiments stem from a combination of questionable decisions and missed opportunities that have left fans feeling frustrated and players without the support they need to succeed. First off, we need to address the elephant in the room, Christy Sides. Throughout the season, Sides has made some questionable decisions throughout, and some of the results speak for themselves. It's not just about wins and losses, though those certainly paint a picture. It's about how she's been handling key moments in games. Timeouts, for instance, are an essential tool for any coach to regain control of the game, but Sides just hasn't been using them effectively. I mean, how many times have we seen the Fever caught in a tough spot, desperately needing a breather, and Sides just lets them play through it without calling for a timeout? It's baffling, really.
Let's talk about the person who has the hardest job in the WNBA, and it's Christy Sides. You know why? Because having the #1 recruit and the person who is being credited for largely transforming fandom, viewership, sales, everything in the WNBA, and then having a 1-8 start, that's a tough job to take on as a second-year coach, only having 1 year under your belt as a head coach, and now you've got to coach the #1 draft pick that everybody thinks has to be successful or not.
And it doesn't stop there. Sides' decision-making when it comes to substitutions has been another major point of frustration. Caitlin Clark nearly played as much basketball as the NBA players play. Far too often, we see her pulling players who are just starting to get into a rhythm or leaving in those who are clearly struggling. Her instincts seem off, to say the least, and it's hard not to wonder if this is one of the major reasons the Fever have had such an inconsistent season.
We want to play for championships. And so to be able to see this team go in the 3-year period from 5 to 13 to 20, sold out arenas, not only at home, but on the road, it means the world to me.
Speaking of backing players, this brings us to Caitlin Clark, who has been nothing short of extraordinary this season. Clark is a generational talent, a player who has carried this team on her back and propelled them to places they wouldn't have reached without her. Yet, one has to question if Christy Sides is really giving her the support she needs. Clark's brilliance is undeniable, but she can't do it all on her own. She needs a coach who knows when to step in, when to protect her, and when to make decisions that put her in the best position to succeed. Unfortunately, Sides has struggled in that department. There's a growing consensus that the Fever could be doing so much more with the right leadership. Christy Sides' inability to effectively manage timeouts, substitutions, and overall game strategy has made it painfully clear that she may not be the right fit for this team.
If you're the team with the worst defensive rating in the league and you know you need a good defender, how do you not play her then waive her? While it's frustrating, I'm not too surprised. It's been a common theme lately to see high draft picks get waived or cut earlier in their careers in the W. We saw it a lot last season, especially in training camp. This is a huge L for the Fever.
Caitlin Clark, let's be honest, has carried this team on her back. The Fever's success this season? That's largely thanks to Caitlin, not Christy Sides. She's been the engine, the fire, the glue, whatever you want to call it, that's kept this team moving forward. Whether it was draining threes, dishing out assists, or making clutch plays under pressure, Clark has done it all. Without her, it's hard to imagine the Fever even making it to the playoffs, let alone competing at the level they did. Yet, somehow, Christy Sides has been getting a lot of credit for the team's success. But let's be real for a second. Caitlin did most of the heavy lifting.
She's sensational in her own right. She's going to be a superstar in this league for years to come. She's clearly the Rookie of the Year. She's deserving of being an MVP candidate, even though she's behind Asia Wilson. And the Indiana Fever going to be in the playoffs.
All season long, Clark has been taking some pretty physical hits on the court. Fouls that should have been called but weren't. Rough tackles that went unaddressed. Essentially, she's been targeted. And what did Christy Sides do about it? Not much, to be honest. She didn't speak up for Clark, didn't challenge the refs, and didn't have her players back when it really counted. In a league where advocating for your star player can change the dynamics of a game.
Coach in the locker room, we're down 3 the first quarter, down 5 second quarter, and then lost by 3 in the third. We were right there, and I felt like we just played a crappy game.
Fun fact, Christy Sides had 0 experience as a head coach prior to becoming the head coach of the Fever. Yes, that includes high school coaching too. So when you hear that Lin Dunn is sticking by Christy Sides, it's no wonder people are upset. It's not just about the losses. It's about how the situation was handled, or rather mishandled, over the course of the season. Clark was the team's clear MVP, yet she wasn't protected or defended when it mattered most. So yes, fans are demanding a change, and they have every right to do so. The Fever's future is bright, but it's not going to reach its full potential as long as Sides is at the helm and Lin Dunn continues to back her. Caitlin Clark deserves a coach who can elevate her game, protect her on the court, and make the right decisions when it matters most. And if the Fever want to win a championship, it's time for Lin Dunn to seriously reconsider who's leading this team.
I know that, as you've been saying, it takes time, it takes, connection, chemistry, effort, and just helping those people gel. And I love what is going on in the Indiana Fever organization. And whoever was going to be the coach of this young lady in the pros was going to probably have that journey. And I think I'm going to say it, whether you agree with me or not in the comments, you were the right person for the job.
It's tough because Caitlin Clark has been the bright spot in what has otherwise been a roller coaster of a season for the Fever. She's the reason they made it as far as they did, and quite frankly, the reason Fever fans held on to any hope at all. Clark has proven her doubters wrong, time and time again this season, and she's done it in spectacular fashion. Not only did she win Rookie of the Year over Angel Reese, rightfully so, but she dominated in such a way that left little room for debate. There was no question about it. Caitlin Clark's impact has been undeniable, and her ability to rise to the occasion has been nothing short of sensational.
So if I am Rookie of the Year, God, thank you. If I'm not, back to the drawing board, and I just want to win.
And let's not forget, Clark has been breaking records left and right. Just take a look at her assist record, where she now stands above Alyssa Thomas, which is no small feat. Her court vision, combined with her scoring ability, makes her a dual threat that few players can match. Caitlin is rewriting the history books, and she's doing it in style. For so long, there were questions surrounding whether she could perform at this level, especially as a rookie. But not only has she risen to the occasion, she's exceeded every expectation thrown her way. Even legends of the game, like Cheryl Swoops, are starting to give Caitlin Clark her flowers. Swoops, a Hall of Famer, has recognized the impact Clark has had not just on the Indiana Fever, but on the entire WNBA. It's about time people acknowledge what Caitlin has done for the game. Of course, there are still those, like Angel Reese, who continue to argue that their season was more impactful. But when you compare the two, Clark's achievements, her stats, and her leadership on the court speak for themselves.
I'm going to give Caitlin her flowers because I think what she has done coming into this league absolutely has brought more eyes, whether you like them or not, but has brought more eyes, more marketing. Like, people just want to watch the game and they want to talk about it. Even those that don't know anything about it, they talk about it. And I'm not going to give Caitlin her flowers without giving you your flowers.
Then there's the media. Experts like Molly Karam, who were initially skeptical, are now starting to admit they were wrong about Caitlin. Yet, there's still this underlying sense of jealousy or reluctance to fully give her the credit she deserves. It's as if some people can't acknowledge her greatness without throwing in a caveat. But the reality is, Caitlin Clark has been a game changer. Whether people want to admit it or not, she's elevated the Fever to a level they simply wouldn't have reached without her presence, leadership, and undeniable talent.
That's exactly what I'm saying, because I think it makes a mockery of the women's game. If the focus on, now we just have to have people because of marketing and their attention, and they're not as talented, and we're not putting the best team out there.
Her impact on the WNBA can't be overstated either. Caitlin Clark has become the kind of player who transcends the sport, drawing in fans and breaking viewership records all season long. People aren't just watching because they love the Fever or even the WNBA. They're watching because they want to see Caitlin Clark. Her dynamic playing style, her charisma on the court, and her ability to change the game in an instant have made her a must-watch athlete. She's brought in new viewers, expanded the fan base, and made headlines in a way that very few players can. Caitlin is a ratings machine, and the league has benefited enormously from her presence. But now, with her taking a break and not returning to the WNBA for 200 days, there's real concern about what's going to happen to the league's viewership. Let's face it, the WNBA needs stars like Caitlin Clark. She's become one of the faces of the league in such a short period, and with her stepping away for a while, the numbers are going to take a hit. Fans are already vocal about their disappointment, and many have made it clear that they're not as interested in watching if Caitlin isn't playing. That's not a knock on the other great players in the league, but it highlights just how significant her impact has been.
You guys are putting too much heat on Angel.
Yeah. And you know what? We live in such a world of love at the same time, because if we look at Paige Beckers and Gigi Watkins at the same time, them two love each other. Do you know what I mean? Angel and Caitlin, there's no hate between the two either.
Yeah.
But people are making things into something that it's not.
It's a tough situation for the WNBA, but even more so for the Indiana Fever. Caitlin Clark hasn't just been the star player. She's become the face of this team and, arguably, the league. Her absence will be felt in more ways than one. It's not just the viewership numbers that will suffer. It's the energy and excitement that surround the team and the league when she's on the court. Her presence brings a different kind of electricity to the game, and without her, the Fever, and the WNBA as a whole, are going to feel a noticeable dip. Fans are passionate about Caitlin, and they've been vocal about their disappointment that she won't be playing for a while. That's the kind of connection she's built with the fan base in such a short time.
She's not really quiet a lot of the times, but when she does get that way, you can think, maybe I need to, just look in on her for a bit. And, she's human, right? And she has endured a lot this season and has handled it in the most professional way.
In conclusion, it's clear that the Indiana Fever are at a major crossroads. Lin Dunn's decision to keep Christy Sides as head coach has left fans questioning the direction of the team, especially with a star like Caitlin Clark leading the charge. Clark has been the heartbeat of this franchise, and she deserves better support. She's proven time and time again that she's a superstar, but superstars need the right environment and leadership around them to truly thrive. Christy Sides hasn't provided that support, and Lin Dunn's continued backing of her raises serious concerns about the Fever's future. It's not just about the day-to-day decisions on the court. It's about setting this team up for long-term success. With Caitlin Clark in her prime, now is the time to build a championship-caliber team around her. And it starts with having the right coach in place. Fans want a change, and they want it now. If Caitlin Clark is going to lead this team to a championship, she needs a coach who can match her energy, her talent, and her will to win. Christy Sides hasn't proven that she's that coach, and Lin Dunn's loyalty to her is becoming increasingly hard to justify. It's time for Lin Dunn to step down, and it's time for Christy Sides to be shown the door. Caitlin Clark deserves the best, and right now, she's not getting it. The Fever have a generational talent on their hands, and they can't afford to waste her prime years with a coach who doesn't back her or put her in the best position to succeed. The time for tough decisions has arrived. If Indiana doesn't make these changes, they risk losing not only Caitlin Clark's trust, but the faith of their entire fan base. If you enjoyed, leave a like and subscribe. More videos are on screen now.